Magandang kamalayan sa inyong lahat at nandito na naman tayo sa ating klase. Ang ating class na tinatawag natin Kamalayan Learning Alternative Success System. At we are under our school. Our school is called SCOLL or SCHOLLL, which means Shifting Consciousness Higher Online Lifelong Learning. Alright, so dito sa ating klase ngayon ay meron tayong isang topic na napaka-importanteng mapag-usapan natin. Dahil ito ay talagang grabe na. I mean, we are now experiencing many of these kinds of, I would say, disruptive forces. So ang topic natin ngayon is disruption is the new reality. Disruption is the new normal. Iba ay naniniwala ba kayo dyan? Totoo ba yan? Well, sabi nga natin, change is the only one that is consistent in our life that is happening now. Otherwise, everything changes except the universal laws and principles that I always emphasize. No? So, kaya dito tayo sa ating klase ngayon at atin ay bibigyan ng pansin ang mga disruptive forces na ito na kung saan ay, well, matagal na natin alam ito, like nandyan yung, of course, yung pandemic na yung tatawag natin COVID-19, yung virus, which is already almost one year na tayo, no? And kumbaga, ano ba dapat natin matutunan dito sa ating na-experience ngayon with this pandemic? Well, actually, we should be thankful because, well, it's not because it has given us that kind of, I would say, hardship in terms of tragic, I would say, happenings like death and sickness, no? Pero ito ay isang, kumbaga parang, well, preparation o precursor sa mga mas grabe pang nangyayari o mangyayari. Na yung iba yung nangyayari na, like climate change is already inevitable. It is already upon us na hindi natin binibigyan pa rin ng talagang solusyon na maayos, no? And ano pa mga nakikita natin dyan, yung artificial intelligence, no? Yung mga about technology, yung mga robotics, yung mga machines that are already taking over the jobs of practically our people. No? So ang tanong dyan is, how can we now survive all these disruptive forces? Well, one time I was able to watch this webinar of Dean Van Leeuwen, who actually is the head of this group called Tomorrow Tomorrow People Tomorrow Today Consultancy with Grammy Crodrington, mga futurist ito. And somehow I actually was able to get a lot of things or learned a lot of things from them because they talk about what is now going on and what is supposed to be done or what is now supposed to be learned by us. So dito na nga sa ating klase ngayon, sa ating Tatoism 101. Tinawag ko itong Tatoism because basically this is something that is different from a lot of other subjects that you have learned. I myself am the one who actually formed this curriculum for that matter, no? Dito sa ating school. At ito ay may kinalaman nga sa mga bagong mga nangyayari ngayon na hindi pa nabibigyan ng pansin ng academe. Kaya hindi nila na ituturo itong mga bagay na ito. So here, dito sa ating ginagawang klase ngayon, ay binibigyan ko na ng pansin itong mga bagay na ito. And so, let's start, no? So, ito ang nakita na natin nangyayari ngayon. We are now faced with this pandemic and then akala natin makuha lang natin yung vaccine o magkaroon tayo ng gamot para mapagaling natin o makabigay lunas sa atin. Okay na. Subalit, ito ang katotohanan. Etong COVID-19 might just be one of 2 or more pandemics that we are going to experience in the future. Marami ng in the making of new pandemics. Mukhang talagang we have to learn how to live with viruses. Hindi na natin pwedeng sabihin na after COVID-19, solve na ang problema natin. We can go back to our old lives. Hindi na yan pwede mangyari. We are now changing a lot of things that we used to, do because we cannot go back to our old lives. We are now faced with a new reality. We have to now create the kind of future that we want to have. We cannot just wait for a new world to happen. We are now creating this new world. And so, but we have to identify, ano ba itong mga disruptive forces pa na nakikita natin na mangyayari o nangyayari na? Well, as I've said, ito na nga itong mga bagay na kailangan na natin bigyan ng halaga ngayon, no, ng pansin. Dahil unang-una, ito na yung kailangan natin ma-develop sa ating buhay, no, at o kaalaman kung paano natin ma-overcome o makayanan itong mga mangyayaring ah, itong mga kumbaga parang disruptive or disruptions that are going to happen. And I will first talk about the disruptions or the disruptive forces. No? Number one of them is this pandemic that we are now experiencing. And then the other one is climate change. Recently dito sa Pilipinas, nako, talagang grabe na itong mga bagyo na naranasan natin sunod-sunod. And we have seen a lot of homes, a lot of, you know, I would say barrios or cities for that matter na wipe out, lagi underwater. And so somehow parang ano na nangyayari, bakit ganito na kagrabe ang na-experience natin, no? So this is a result of climate change. So nagbago na yung takbo ng panahon. Hindi na natin mapredict as to how much rainfall we are going to experience. Hindi na natin maaagapan yan. So ang tanong dyan is how can we cope? We cannot just say that we are a resilient people na makakabangon tayo palagi. But again, yes, we are resilient. But then we still have to do our job. I mean, itong mga ating mga leaders, mga nasa gobyerno, mga nasa private organizations as well. So they have to do their part in terms of doing the right thing now. No? Hindi na pwede yung sasabihin nila na, well, talagang ganyan na lang mangyayari sa buhay natin. Buti na lang, ano ang mga Pilipino, ayan, sabi nga, resilient, kaya nakakabangon tayo. Hindi pwede nang ganun tayo ngayon. We expect many things from them now as to what they can do because we voted them. That's why we have to be careful now when it comes to elections. So okay, anyway, ito na yun. I will first mention the 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 major forces, disruptive forces that we are about to face or we are facing now. Climate change, this pandemic, ano pa, yung nakikita nating artificial intelligence now, yung mga robots, mga machines which are taking over our jobs. So, wala na tayong mga trabaho for our mga kababayan. No? Meron ato pang isang, well, of course, poverty is still there. Kahirapan at kagutuman, pagkain, no? Kukulangan sa pagkain, nandiyan ang problema natin. At ano pa, inequality. I mean, talagang kahit papaano ay nandiyan pa rin inequality sa ating mundo. No? Ano pa ang nakikita natin mga disruptive forces? Ito ang government sa atin na kung saan tinatawag natin geopolitics. No? I mean, kasi the way our governments are being run by people, well, basically, according to our cultural heritage as well, may influence on cultural religion, ano pa ba, yung mga nakagisnan na natin in the past. Kahit pa paano, nag-influence pa rin yan on how we run our government. So we have to really now take a look at them. Kailangan pa ba yan mga ganyang klaseng paniniwala o kailangan palitan na? So marami tayong mga ganyang klase. Kailangan natin makikitang mga sabi nga natin, disruptive forces. No? So I think I mentioned somehow the more important ones. So marami pa iba, pero basically yun lang muna, climate change, yun. And somehow, eto na ngayon, ano ang kailangan natin gawin? Ano ang puwede natin magawa, as to whether how can overcome all these things? Well, of course, we have to accept first and foremost that this is already upon us. Second is, yun na nga, no? Since disruptive na nga ang new reality, wala ng continuation ng mga kadalasan mga dati natin nakagisan. Like for example, even schools now. I doubt if we can really return to the normal schooling that we used to do. I mean, semesters I think will not be any more a semester na of 4 months or what. I, I, ako if I would be given a chance to really be given that kind of a platform na madinig ng ibang mga officials, I suggest let's do away with schooling, except for some particular courses like medicine, engineering, architecture, yeah, yung mga scientific o may kilala mo sa science, yan. Importante na may kung pa rin dyan, eskwelahan, no? Pero yung iba, I would consider self-education is more the practical way of learning nowadays. Kasi in spite of what we are now experiencing na wala na tayong, I would say, masasabing the kind of I would say how we should do, yung ating eskwelahan, no, how we would do it now. Well, let's, yun nga, sinasabi nila, online, I mean, yung wala na yung face-to-face, ano na, kumbaga parang it's basically online na. But more than online, I would suggest na talagang, ano na self-education na, self-learning is the only way now. We have to now choose the kind of education we want. Tayo na mismo magtuturo sa sarili natin. And many of the subjects that we want to learn are available now. Nasa internet na lahat yan. So all we have to do now is really find out what would interest us. As a matter of fact, ako, mas blessing pa nangyayari sa ngayon na nagkakagulo ngayon ang educational system natin. Because I would really suggest that we just choose our own subjects that we want to study. And then kung ano man yung skills na kailangan mo matutunan, well, we can attend some, I would say, workshops, seminars. Marami na rin yan online. So, ang dami na natin pagkakataon to learn on our own, to study on our own. So, yan ang sinasabi ko ngayon. These are the changes that we are now going to suggest. So, ano ang kailangan natin? Of course, andyan na yung problema, andyan yung forces. But what kind of an attitude should we have? The values that we should have to really face this strong, I would say formidable, disruptive forces. Hindi siya ganyan yung kadaling ma-overcome. Ito na pandemic Nandiyan lahat ng dalubhasa natin, mga scientists natin, mga people of that kind of intelligence who could discover the kind of, I would say, a vaccine or medicine to cure our predicament now. Wala silang makuhang tamang formula. Kaya talagang ano tayo ngayon, we're kind of helpless in a way, but we're not exactly totally helpless. That's why I am suggesting, I am actually, eto lang rin ang kailangan natin ilagay sa ating DNA or sa ating kamalayan o sa ating kaisipan ang mga bagay na ito. No? Kasi nga nagbago na ngayon. We cannot just rely on things that would make us, be more stable. Kung saan ay pag nagagawin ng ibang tao. Every one of us now have to be our own, I would say, leader. Kaya, ito yung there are actually, basta marami ito eh. Number one is we have to be curious. Nowadays, we don't know anymore what's going on. We are actually now looking, that's why nga, when you say disruption, ito na yun eh. We have to become an explorer now because wala na tayong tawag dito na yung masasabing eto lang ang gusto kong gawin dahil Ito ang aking magiging parang, I would say, future, no? There's no future right now. At this point in time, we don't know what there is. So we are now explorers of the unknown. Explorers really are explorers because they explore the unknown, no? Yun naman ang definition ng explorer. So what are the characteristics or traits of that of an explorer? Yan ang ating i-share ngayon. And number one of them is that of being curious. We have to now be aware of a lot of things that are around us. Yung mga dating hindi natin binibigyan ng pansin, ngayon ay kailangan na natin pansinin. Bigyan ng halaga, bigyan ng pag-unawa, understanding as to why there are things like this or why they are here in our world. So we have to be curious. We have to be very, I would say, observant. No? Another thing is we have to be empathetic. We have to be able to feel for others, for everything. That's one way of surviving now. We have to be empathetic. Another thing that is important for us to really develop in us is our creativity in terms of our thinking, in terms of what we can do, our skills, our body as to what we can do with whatever, our mind or with our physical body. We have to be creative now. Yan ang importante. Creativity is the thing now to really develop. Another one is our intuition. We all have intuition. Huwag niyo sabihin wala yan. Yung iba lang, mahina dahil hindi nila dine-develop or hindi nila pinapansin. But definitely, we can really intuit things. Ano ba intuition? Yung mga nalalaman mo ang mga bagay-bagay na wala ka namang basehan as to why you know about them. Bigla na lang may papasok sa iyong kamalayan o sa kaisipan. So ito yung importanteng i-develop natin, our intuition. Sa business nga hindi mo alam, papasok ka sa business, hindi mo alam kung bebenta mo yung binibenta mo or malulugi ka dyan. So intuition ang ginagamit dyan. That's why most businessmen have high intuition. Without intuition, you won't be able to deal with any kind of business you want to get into. Lalo na ngayon, ang dami nag-online business, hindi nila alam kung bebenta yan o hindi. But yun nga, using intuition, you can survive. No? Another quality or trait that we have to develop is our inspirational way of doing things. Like, what do you mean by inspirational? Inspiration. Excuse me. How are we inspired by the things that we get to see around us? No? We are inspired by the heroism of our frontliners. Tayo rin mismo are sources of inspiration by other people. They look at us na kung saan ay parang nandiyan sa ang kanilang pagtitiwala sa atin at paghanga kung tayo ay may ginagawang maganda. So basically, yan yung importanteng mga kailangan natin ngayon bigyan ng pansin. Dati bawal ito sa eskwelahan. Dati, pag nahuli ka nito o pag ito ginagawa mo, bagsak ka na. Ano ito? What do you mean by bagsak? Cheating na. You will be accused of cheating. Now, it's collaboration. You cannot do it alone. You cannot study alone. You have to study with other people. You have to learn to do things with other people. You cannot do it alone now. So basically, collaboration is important now. You have to collaborate. We have to do everything together. We have to be united. We cannot be apart from each other now. Tulong-tulungan na talaga tayo ngayon. Hindi na pwedeng magkakahiwalay o kanya-kanya. Collaboration is the key to our success now in this disruptive times. No? Huwag na natin pasinin muna yung COVID. Kasama lang yan. But as I've said, marami na tayong disruptive forces that are now looking into. So these are all the qualities that I'm sharing to overcome or to really survive all these other disruptive forces. You have to be agile. You have to now be able to really be as well as to be adaptable. You have to be resilient. Yan ang mga bagay na kailangan na natin mabigyan ng importansya sa buhay natin, no? Kasi ito na nga, disruption is the new normal. Hindi na kayo pwedeng pa-relax-relax lang dyan. So all these things we have now to take into consideration. So as I have mentioned, uh, ito na nga ang ating kailangan nating matutunan, no? Uh, ano pa ba ang kuha natin? How kasi ito mga tinatanong, "Ay, yabang mo Tato, akala mo galing-galing mo, dami mong sinasabi diyan, pero basically pinupulot mo lang yan." Actually, yes, pinupulot ko yan, but ako, I had been involved in this kind of thing since tagal na, 1986 pa, or before 86 pa. Kasi the first time I had a job, I was with ABS-CBN. I was a production assistant. But after a while, bigla na lang sinara yung sa aming estasyon. Nag-martial law, just like what is happened, that that happened now in ABS-CBN, no? Na sinara yung estasyon nila dahil tinanggal yung franchise. Kami noon, tinanggal ang ABS-CBN dahil nag-martial law. Pinasara ni Marcos. So wala kami trabaho. Lumipat ako sa ibang estasyon. Nagkaroon kami ng pagkakataon katulad ngayon, yung mga ibang empleyado ng ABS, ibang production, pumunta na sa Channel 5, sa TV5, yung iba pumunta sa Channel 11. Kami noon, meron din kami Channel 11 noon. We actually worked in Channel 11 kasi yung grupo ng ABS noon, may mga sinamahan din ako grupo noon. No? So we were still together. Katulad ng ginagawa ngayon. So meron kami na kuwang estasyon or napunta estasyon na kung saan doon kami naglagay ng mga programa. Channel 13. So during that time, okay na kami sa Channel 13. We had programs like mga okay lang. I had talagang more of a real bright future in TV production then. No? I was with Torito Vieira then of It Bulagano. Siya yung boss ko noon. And we had programs like Sumasa Inyo Gloria Romero, mga drama. Mga director pa namin na sila Ismael Bernal. And then, eventually, nawala na naman. Sinara kami. Bakit? Nag-take over ang isang company, yung KBS, so Malay Broadcasting System, which was part of the martial law regime. So, nawala na naman kami ng trabaho. So, disruption again. Ang dami ko na, sabi ko nga, ano ba itong buhay ko? Papakahirap ka rito, nagtatrabaho ka naman ng maayos, bigla na lang mawawala ka ng trabaho dahil, geopolitics. Ito yung natawag na yung gobyerno mo ay talagang makikialam sa mga bagay-bagay. At okay, so trabaho ko sa iba. Hanggang nakita ko nga, nasa recording ako. Ito naman ang problema ko. Ando ka nga sa recording, hindi naman sinasara yung recording. Kaya lang pabago-bago ang way of doing things inside the recording kasi nagbabago ang technology. That's why ito nga, artificial intelligence. Ito rin yung aming naging, noong panahon na yun, no? Sa geopolitics, artificial intelligence. From vinyl, napunta kami ng cassette, napunta kami ng CD, hanggang mamaya, MP3, hanggang mamaya, wala na kaming produkto. Digital na. Wala na kami binibenta. So, nagsasara na yung mga record bars, yung mga record companies. So, sabihin, ganyan kabilis ang pagbabago. And I was a witness to these disruptions that had happened. And so, dito ko talaga tinignan ang buhay ko. Sabi ko, I have to study now how I can create the future that I want. And dito ko pinag-aralan ang Kamalayan at ng mga bagay na kung saan I was able now to see many of the things that are helpful sa aking eto na ngayon, ang ginagawa ko, tinuturo ko ngayon dito sa Tatoism 101 dito sa ating school. Kaya makinig lang kayo dahil ito yung mga bagay talaga na kailangan niyong matutunan na ngayon. Huwag kayong mag-alala dahil alam ko itong ginagawa ko dahil I had been part of this disruptive changes, or not a part but a victim of this ah, kasama ako dyan sa mga na biktima dyan. Pero I cannot be a victim all my life. So I had to find solutions. And so these are the solutions that I was able to see. We have to create that. And so ito na ngayon yung kuha natin. So, well, yun na nga, we now are changing all the time. So, sana ay maintindihan ninyo ang mga pangyayaring ganito at kung ano itong nasabi ko sa inyo ngayon, na-share ko ay mailagay ninyo na sa inyong katauhan o sa kamalayan nyo o sa kaisipan nyo itong mga bagay na ito na we cannot anymore bring back the old life. This more disruptive changes will come. So definitely, mas malala pa. Kaya lang, we should know how to cope with it. So with that, I'd like to say maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig. Sana ay antabayanan nyo ang susunod nating klase within the week. So ito si Tato Malay nagsasabi, isang magandang kamalayan sa inyong lahat.